Well, Carsten, are you there? Because now you have tried to interfere with me so many times that now you are legally here.
Yeah, you can hear me?
I can hear you. I can see you. So you look great today. Nice shirt you have there.
Thank you.
So before we get started with the presentation, Carsten, you have been working, I mean, just for people who don't know you, you are working for Grakom, the Federation of Printers in Denmark, and you've been working with the environmental program for some years, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I saw it at LinkedIn 29 years now.
Have you worked with environment issues all 29 years?
No, actually 35 years, but in Grakom, 29 years.
So I think that we can establish that we are talking to an authority, right? So I think that you have been heavily involved, that so many Danish printing companies have the Nordic Eco label. I think that you've been very responsible also in the ISO certification programs. I think that educational of environmental issues is a part of the Grakom work that you have been very much involved in since many years, right?
Yeah, right.
So before we start about the ClimateCalc that you've also been part of participating in the development of, before we get into that, I was just curious, the COVID-19 and the issues that we see with that, do you think that it's how should I say, a drawback from the environmental agenda? Because I mean, I think all European politicians, they were so eagerly trying to, set the green agenda the past year, even with very, very ambitious carbon emission objectives. And now everything is about how we get growth back. And even though that all the planes that are not flying, all the factories that are down have been shortly positive to the environment, but what do you think the long term of this is?
I think the answer to a better environment, better climate is education and solve the poverty of the world and this kind, and probably might also be an answer to this pandemic things we will see coming up, maybe more of them the coming years. I think the climate issue and the environment issue is mostly solved, at least in our sector, by technology.
Yeah,
I'm honored to be mentioned as a part of process, but I think technology and developing within technology have solved a lot of problems for us.
The reason I was asking was because I was thinking that the cost of the pandemic is so tremendously high. So all the countries in the world basically have to figure out how to get it, and it basically comes from producing and from tax money, right? So that was why I was thinking maybe we can't afford to have a green agenda. On the other hand, we can't afford not to have a green agenda, right?
Yeah, you're right. But if you should mention one key systems coping with environment in print, it will be quality. It will be ISO 9001, because all the environmental impact relates to the material and substrates, and have a efficient systems to lower your mistakes and lower waste.
I would like to have such one for Inkies as well. Can you please send one?
Yeah. So I think anyway, you got to work with efficiency, and when you work with efficiency, you work with the environment. So
yeah. So what you kind of say is that the really big pollution part of the printing industry is maybe all the things that we are not using. So every time we have paper that are not used and we just trash it, that is polluting. Or every time we emit something that doesn't do anything good, that is what technology brings us in the leadership.
Yeah, and the knowledge about paper substrate produced with the lowest energy amount consumption, and your capability of convincing the customer to choose the right quality. So it's all about advising the customer. So
when you started developing in Grakom, you started to develop the ClimateCalc. I think that was I wouldn't say it was too early, but maybe it was a little bit early because I think that it has taken some time before everybody started to understand the value of knowing your emissions. So you can either have it as a kind of guidance to how you can lower your emissions and your footprint, but it was also a way for customers to understand when they sell a printed product, how much they leave for the next generations. When did you start looking into developing ClimateCalc?
It all started in the mid-90s with the environmental management system. The BS 7750, I think, before the ISO 14001. And when you work with environment, when you work with ISO system, you have to point out the significant factors, parameters to work with. And the life cycle analysis, the earlier studies showed us that energy is the most significant parameters through the whole life cycle of print. So before the term climate came to us, it was just energy, and energy is a part of the environmental umbrella of working with the environment. So it just started from our main focus. So we did a lot of development projects for the Danish Ministry of Environment. Dividing the consumption of energy on ventilation, light, and machines, and all this kind of stuff. So actually, ClimateCalc was originally an Excel sheet invented by us, working within the companies, different companies. And then this awareness of climate was rising, and we thought that companies start competing in the market. They took their own key figures from their inside production out to the market, and when you do that, you got to be sure that you compete an apple with an apple, and we saw a lot of different initiatives and systems. So what we needed was, first of all, a sector-based common standard across Europe, across the world, and then a calculator working according to the standard.
If you look at ClimateCalc today, and if you look at the printing companies using it, what do you think is the biggest obstacles for a printing company to adapt the ClimateCalc as part of the daily operation?
Actually, we have two levels. We have a full level and a basic level. I'm going to show you in a moment, but the basic level should be very easy accessible for the printers. They only have to type in 4 figures, actually. Maybe more if they want a list of all the substrates, but anyway.
But a basic input gives you a basic good enough output. That is what you say, right?
I think so. It's very detailed. I show it, and the price of getting a login is very cheap, and the certification process is in Denmark between 500 and 1,000 euro, which is very cheap comparing to ISO.
Yeah.
And what you get is really a green account. Imagine 80% of all your environmental impact, different parameters in the life cycle is energy. Yeah. And if you cover energy, you in fact have a green account, and you get a green account for maybe 200 euros per year for a small company. That's very cheap.
Yeah, that is cheap. I have a suggestion. Why don't you take and show us your presentation, and then we do some follow-up questions when you're done. Should we do that?
Yeah, sure.
And are you? Do you know how to do it? Are you ready?
I just share my screen. I think it's here. Yeah. Probably you see it now.
I see it now. I just turned my audio and video off, and then take it away, Carsten.
Yeah. Okay.
And welcome.
On the front page, you see a picture I borrowed from our French colleague Benoît Moreau. You saw the green countries members of ClimateCalc. But first of all, ClimateCalc is a network for calculation and certification of carbon footprints in the graphic industry, specific graphic industry. It's for members of Intergraph. Organizations outside Europe can become associated members. Current members are, as you see, the Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, Portugal, Sweden, Finland, France, Norway, and UK. ClimateCalc from the beginning is giving the company a carbon account, a possibility for doing a product calculation, a substrate module, I'll be back to that, labeling, or a kind of label, it's a QR code, a benchmark possibility, and a certificate. As I said to you, Morten, before, the background of ClimateCalc was the rising awareness of this climate change. The LCA study is telling us that energy is highly significant in the life cycle of print. All these different initiatives, some of them quite good, but still different, coming up. The lack of a sector-based standard. This slide shows you what I already told you, the significant from science of energy in the life cycle. This respiratory inorganics is mostly particle caused by burning fuel. And the global warming, not global warming, but global warming is consumption. Actually, there exists at international, a global standard for greenhouse gas. It's called Greenhouse Gas Protocol. It defines actually 3 scopes. And you can set up a carbon calculation model according to the greenhouse gas, but it's quite generic. So we needed this specific standard for our sector, setting up boundaries for calculation specific on printed matter. And in 2010, many years ago now, Intergraph released such a standard. It's called Intergraph Recommendation on CO2 Emissions Calculation in Printing Industry. So far, it's still the only one in the world, actually, setting up these specific scientific-based boundaries for carbon calculation for both company and products. Actually mentioned as a normative reference in the ISO 16759. So the Intergraph defined scope. As you see, we do not include capital assets, which is energy used for producing machine buildings. We don't include end of life. Unfortunately, I will say, because end of life will add to such good things to the product. Customer distribution, but we do include first point of delivery to the customer. Intergraph recommendation, the inclusion of includes emission from 13 parameters, which cover 95% of the emission. It's divided into the 3 scopes of Greenhouse Gas Protocol. It's you see as production of substrates relating to the optional scope of greenhouse gas, which is scope 3. It's on-site combustion of fuels and so on. You can read it afterwards. We do have 2 versions, as I said to Morten. We have a full and a basic version. The full version, of course, cover all 13 parameters individual for the company. And the basic version, which is very easy to access and use for the printer, have a lot of generic data based on worst case scenarios. And only few types of data to be filled in. It covers the scope 1 and 2 in the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, and it covers, of course, substrates. It is, in fact, optional in the greenhouse gas, but it's not optional for print because it covers too much in the life cycle. This ClimateCalc offers actually a green account, a carbon account. I'll show you on the web page later. The product calculation tool with options to calculate and file orders, print product declaration for your customer, and manage compensation or offset if your customer would like you to do that. It offers you use of two different kinds of labels. One telling that the carbon emission of printed matter is evaluated according to ClimateCalc, and another one, this printed matter is carbon compensated according to ClimateCalc. And the QR code will lead the customer or the NGO or whatever to the web page proving that the company really are certified. If you use the full version, you will also have access to a benchmark tool where you can benchmark your carbon emission, your energy efficiency, your material efficiency, waste. You will get a certificate showing that you are actually able to and allowed to do this calculation. You can discover more at ClimateCalc.eu, and I will immediately show you. It should work. Tried it. Yep, I think you see it now. This is the ClimateCalc website. You will see up right in the right corner. You can choose your site. I choose the EU site in English. You can choose language, version down here. Not all is in. You see, some of them are not yet member of ClimateCalc, but we do have companies using ClimateCalc. So the web page for Lithuania will still be in English. But anyway, this is the English web page. Up here, you will be able to see which company certified in different countries. You can go for Denmark. We can say we only want to look in sheet-fed, and so on. You can go in here and read about the labeling.
Carsten, yeah. I think you should show the web page, because what we see right now is just your presentation. So maybe you just switch.
Still presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just switch in the presenter mode. You can go to the show the website instead.
Are you able to see the website now?
No, you have to. If you click on the presenter where it says "Turn Screen Share On," okay. I think you can select the. Oh, now you left the room. That is what happens when things are live, right? But Carsten will be here shortly. I'm pretty sure about that. But just to recap from until we see Carsten again, is that the ClimateCalc is your entrance to I didn't even know there's like two different ways. There's a very cheap one that's 500 to 1,000. Okay, Carsten is back. Welcome, Carsten.
I'm back.
Yes. So if you click on the presenter tool in the top, I think that you will be able to select which app you want to show on your presentation. Yes, I will just leave you again. Thank you. Are you okay with it?
No, I'm not okay with it. I don't know how to find.
Okay, if you click on that one, you can see that it can show either your entire screen, or you can select app window, or you can say
I choose the app before to choose the PowerPoint. It should lead me direct. As it worked in the test, actually, it should lead me direct to the web page. It didn't.
Okay, it's because you didn't share the entire screen. I just turn off your screen sharing again now, and then you click on screen share again. Then I think you will be able to select the app with your browser details.
It doesn't come up with everything.
And is your presentation running in a browser in the background?
Yeah, it should do.
Mm-hmm.
It does, yeah. Yeah, just a minute.
See, we have there.
Back now.
Okay, that's back to the presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, but
You just have to talk more then, I guess, right?
Yeah, just a minute. You see the web page now?
No, we see the presentation still.
Which is quite.
If you turn your screen share off again, Carsten, and then you just click on it again and then select. Let me see if I can do something here. I can. Maybe you would be able to. I think you can click on it and then you can show your entire screen and then you just switch to the browser.
Morten.
Yeah.
Maybe you can open the web page.
I will try to do that. Hang on a second here. So it's ClimateCalc.eu. Okay, I just turned it on now. Okay, so now we have the ClimateCalc. So you can just tell me and I will guide you through this. So we have the screen on screen now, Carsten.
Yeah, what I showed you before was a horizontal bar up there. You can see this company certified. You can see something about a labeling, and you can actually I want to show you. Yeah, that's there. You can choose countries. You can choose printing technique.
Yeah.
If you go up in the horizontal bar again, Morten, and tick on calculation tools, it's very small for me here. We will be able to see a demo left.
ClimateCalc demo.
Yeah. And if you open the full version demo,
it's done now.
Open up in the company account. And the company account is divided into the 3 scopes. Scope 1 is, and scope 2 and scope 3. And you can see.
Which one should I open?
No, it's okay. You already opened the company account. And you can see for the case company here, it's a demo, but it's really figures that the amount of percentage of substrate in scope 3 is 56, I think. It's very small for me.
Yeah, but I can see that you have the energy consumption here, and you have the emissions, and you have direct emissions, and you have the direct emissions scope 1, indirect emissions is scope 2, and then you have other indirect emissions scope 3, and then you calculate the total company related, product related, and then you have the total emissions. Yeah. And I take that is basically for the printer to understand what part of it is part of the operation and what part is directly related to the product, right?
Yeah, and many of these figures are easy to review every year. So there's only the first year you have a quite a. But in the yellow bar in the beginning, in the carbon account, you will see the 3 main figures: waste paper,
20%.
20%, yeah, and the next key figure is showing your energy efficiency. The last figure shows the energy efficiency, and the middle figure shows your CO2 emission equivalents per tons of paper. What really is interesting here about these key figures is that you can actually have a country with a very pure energy efficiency, but a low CO2 figure. That's due to the kind of energy.
So, for example, if you live
so-called green energy.
So, if you, for example, live in Norway and you use hydro energy, then it could account for less CO2.
Yeah. But your energy efficiency could be very poor. You could have a German company very energy efficient, but they are punished because of their black fossil or their black energy. So we do actually measure on both figures. It's not enough only to have a low CO2. It's also important to be energy efficient, because there is not enough green energy for all in Europe, and the energy net in Europe is common. We share it all. So if you do use much more than you need, there's not enough for others. So you gotta measure, you gotta compare companies on the key figures of energy efficiency as well. If you could tick for the product calculation up there, it's just on the right.
Yeah, I just clicked on it.
It might be the most interesting things, because that's for your market, that's for your customer. And you see the total product calculation in the right. And you see the substrate module down below. You see the different paper qualities down there. Actually, there could be many. So whilst you're talking to your customer in the phone, the customer might want you to offset the order they buy, and you actually can offer them a much cheaper way, just switching from one substrate to another.
Would you say, Carsten, that this is also a revenue opportunity for printing companies to use ClimateCalc to make money on offsetting the CO2 emissions?
It could be, at least. Anyway, it's a very efficient instrument to offer your customer a lower price if they want to offset. Anyway, so.
It's a lot of parameters, but it seems quite easy to use, honestly. So that is nice.
Yeah.
And then when you click compensate in this box here, does it just mean that it registers that this particular one has the customer decided to have it compensated, and then you have it?
Yeah, it's compensated. It's compensated, and then you of course need documentation for the compensation. Which kind of compensation did you buy?
Sure.
So.
That's great. Should I turn off the video screen, or you want to show more right now?
No, it's okay.
Okay. Good. See, we got along with a little help from our friends, right?
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So you have more on your slides, or was that the presentation for now? Or what do you want to talk about? Now you involved me, Carsten. So now you're stuck with me.
Yeah. No. It's the presentation for now. Yeah. So what we are working on now actually is building up a substrate module, web-based, where you can pick all these kind of substrates and just add it to your own ClimateCalc. Of course, instead of having this work from company to company. It's not that easy, because you know it from yourself. You have been working a lot with substrates, because the same substrate is named different in different countries, and who should look after it, rewrite it.
That is one thing, and I was also thinking that if you look at, for example, some of the major paper merchants, they even have the same paper with different names as well, right? So and they even have let's say a certain brand name, and then they choose different mills to produce it from time to time. So it's very complicated to get a very accurate picture of that. How big a percentage of the total carbon emission it comes from the paper side?
You know, the paper profile shows that you can have papers with maybe 100, 200 grams of CO2 per kilo product.
Really? Okay.
Up to more than 2,000.
Wow.
So
and that is because of transport and because of energy consumption, making the paper and the pulp and things?
Mostly the energy efficiency of the paper mill. The transportation is only very little. It's maybe 5%.
Oh, okay. So when you, for example, have let's say that you have mills in let's say that you have a mill in like in Sweden, for example. I don't know the exact figures, but I was thinking that energy prices in Sweden are probably not the cheapest in the world, and I was thinking that taxation is similar to our country, for example. And I would say that the cost of producing there, does that have an incentive for the paper mills in more developed countries to also develop very much on the energy consumption of the production of paper, in your opinion? No. Okay.
No.
Because I was just thinking that, or is it just like a global competitive market where you have like pulp is the main ingredient, so therefore you have like the similar base for how you produce it?
Yeah, I think it's the cost of the substrate. I don't know about. I don't know it actually. No. I don't know
okay. That's totally okay.
It depends. But what I know is that a Swedish quality can be much more efficient due to energy than a Portuguese substrate. It might be like that, but it could happen. Yeah. And even though you're counting the transportation from Sweden to Portugal, it still matters a lot how efficiency the paper mills are. So.
The demand from brand owners and from the major brands, of course, for having emission-free or emission-clean production of marketing material, is that a driving thing, or is it more? I mean, if let's say that I was a printing company and I want to use the ClimateCalc as part of my business, how do I reach out to you or to the local federation, or how do I get in? How do I get it?
You get it by you contact your national association, and if they're a member, you're lucky. If they're not a member, they could be a member. It's actually only €2,000 once and for all payment. You will be an owner of ClimateCalc. You will never be charged anymore for than 2,000. So it's very easy, very cheap. But what will be a driver for ClimateCalc? What will be a driver for this efforts taken by the company to work with ClimateCalc in the future will be when we include the end of life. Because this will really prove the circular economy potential of print.
And what is the status for that? I mean, because what does it require? It requires that you kind of calculate or have like good estimates on how is it burned, or is it on a landfill, or I mean, there's a lot of ways to understand how it is, right?
Yeah. You're right. You never know where print ends up, but what you can know if you design a certain printed matter to be very easy de-inkable to a high quality grade of fibers. Some studies, for instance, one from Darmstadt University recently showed that you can reuse fibers 25 times without damaging the fiber. This is opening up for huge potential. Yeah. Imagine that you can substitute energy for new raw materials 25 times by using fibers. If you can push them back up and use them for graphic paper as many times before they reach the toilet paper, then they end their life first time. So it's more like this theoretical, unless you adopt it or adopt it in a design phase, which you can do with the egg label actually. So that's why ClimateCalc is not an eco label. That's just
it's a tool basically.
So you can use it as a tool in the company.
Yeah.
So
that makes perfect sense. Carsten, I think it's been great. In your session, there's not been a single question. I am sorry about that. Maybe you just expressed yourself so good. So I can see that we. Yeah, who knows? I truly believe that the work that you personally and Federation Grakom as a federation has done is tremendously important, and I hope that some of the people that see this will reach out to you or to the national federations and get into it. I think that you got a little bit more wind in your sails over the past years, because you started as a climate or more like an energy tool, and then the focus on climate came, and I think that it's maybe the best tool in the market right now to actually figure out how your carbon footprint is, right?
Yeah, I think first of all, the treasure, you shouldn't compare ClimateCalc with other tools according to the level of details or complexity. You should compare the ClimateCalc because it's used so broadly as it is. So as a customer, you can rely on figures from ClimateCalc because it's done in the same way every time of your European printers. That's really the treasure in ClimateCalc.
And let that be the last word for now. I appreciate your support for this event. I appreciate your time, and I think it's really good. So thank you, Carsten.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah,